One. Hey, welcome to the Chronicle YouTube channel. I'm Busta Brown, your host. And today I love your name. It's Maestra, right? D'Walla Simmons-Burke. Maestra is fitting for you because you're pretty much a maestro.
The maestra is the feminine form.
Yeah, it's the feminine. Yeah, there you go. And it's beautiful. Hello and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
You're looking beautiful today.
Well, thank you.
Yes, all coordinated. I like it. You did some fantastic things. Let's talk about your position here at Winston-Salem State first. Tell everyone your position here.
I'm the Director of Choral and Vocal Studies at Winston-Salem State.
And how long you been here? A minute. From Georgia to South Carolina to North Carolina.
I've been here 30 years.
30 years, that's a minute. How do you like it here? Because you have done so much with this school. You have 5 different choruses, am I right?
Yes.
Tell us about each one.
Okay.
And how they work.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, of course, the group that was the ensemble when I arrived, and the original choral ensemble is the Winston-Salem State University Choir.
Right.
But it's known in the public as the University Singing Rams. And that name came about when we began to think about branding ourselves and what it is that we really do. And we see each student, of course, at the university is a ram, and singing is what we do. So thus the Winston-Salem State University Singing Rams. Then the other groups were groups that I founded since I've been here. And that's been the Winston-Salem State University Schola Cantorum, which is just a fancy Latin term for like male glee club. So those are the guys that are sometimes in the university choir that pay particular attention to that of choral music for men only.
Gotcha.
And then we, of course, once that happened, the women felt slighted, so they wanted their own group. And then came about the Winston-Salem State University Singing Divas.
Singing Divas.
Yeah,
so watch out.
These are women with a singing attitude.
Right.
And then we have the Burke Singers, which is a female a cappella group named after me. But this particular group came about as a result of the choir being invited to perform at one of our corporate places here in the city.
Right.
And now we're going to talk about how people sometimes determine what it is that you should perform and should not perform.
Right.
And but we were called to perform, and it was for an international affair actually, and there would be people from many countries represented there. The person that called said, "We have learned about your group and know what it is that you do, and so we wanted to ask you to be there." And I said, "Wonderful." We accepted that invitation. When we got there, the person came out, and I finally met her. We'd just spoken over the phone.
Right.
And she said, so the one thing I do want to say to you is that you should not sing any Negro spirituals. I said, okay.
Wow.
And so she said, but I'll come back and get you, so if you all could line up right here and come on in.
And did you have that already prepared? A Negro spiritual?
No, actually, she gave me the names of the countries that were to be represented, and we actually had repertoire with music for all of those countries represented. So we wanted to make them kind of feel at home. And we would do it. Some of them were their national anthems, and the students had learned all of those. But it still would have been appropriate had I planned that, but I had not, and there was nothing wrong with having had that.
And what were you thinking when she said that?
I was stunted. I stopped thinking, to be honest with you. But as soon as she went back in, I turned around and instructed my students to get on the bus. Wow. So we returned to the university.
Good for you.
And all the way back, I really understood the gravity of what I had just done because it was a corporation here who supports the university. And so, of course, I did get a call from the chancellor.
I still say good for you.
And I told the chancellor what transpired, and the chancellor at that time said, I have no problems with that.
Way to go. Way to go.
So this group actually started as a result of one of the students that was standing in the front and heard that exchange between myself and the young lady. And she said, have you ever heard of a group called Sweet Honey in the Rock? And at the time I had not. This was in 1995.
Right.
And so she said, I'm going to bring your recording. So she brought me a CD and I listened to them. I listened to that CD, I don't know how many times.
Sweet Honey
and it was
in the Rock.
so profound, so profound. And thus came about the reason why the singers were formed. They wanted to sing music about justice or injustices, and certainly be able to speak to an audience. Sometimes audiences receive some of these thought-provoking things easier when it's sung to them. So that group was formed.
We did back in the day with the Earth, Wind, and Fires of the world, and Stevie Wonders when they sang songs with a message, and that's what kept us sane back in the day. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the sought-after performances out there, your choirs, you sang for the president, the Pope. Kwesi Mfume. I mean, I can go on and on. Harry Belafonte. Carnegie Hall. I never forget listening to the live recording of The Temptations at Carnegie Hall. Yes. Seeing Ladies Sing the Blues. When I read your bio, I was thinking of Ladies Sing the Blues and everyone that I know that, I'm telling my age, that performed at Carnegie. And I'm like, and Miss Simmons-Burke performed at Carnegie. What was that like? I mean, when you knew this was happening, did you have a flashback of all the greats that had been there?
Which time? We've been 8 times.
Yeah, but when you first went, that first time.
Actually, it was, because all the times have been invitational. Now, you can also request to go, but the music performance companies that run those concerts called and said, we've been following your groups, and we really think it is time for them to make an appearance on a national stage at Carnegie Hall. I couldn't believe it. And I said, yes, of course, right away, not understanding how much it was going to take financially to get us there. But so when they sent that and I looked at that, I said, oh my goodness, I don't have a budget for this, but I had to make it work because they had been recognized by a national group, and it was time for, I agreed with them, it was time for these students to be placed on another level of a stage. So that very first time, and to be honest with you, every time we were invited, has been one of those times where it's an humbling and it's a surreal kind of experience. And the students really, every time they really didn't understand
it
they
did not.
After it happened.
Okay.
When they came back, they came back differently. So these exposures always offer our young people a different way to think about what it is that they've done, because other ears are hearing them that don't get to hear them every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's really an humbling experience.
It's big, man. The president, the Pope, what was that like? There's the Pope and there's you. I mean, that's who does that?
Well, I don't know. It's here again, it's an humbling experience because, and of course you have to, we're always educating our young people, and I'm telling them, I said, do you know who this is.
Yes.
And why. And of course some say, no, I don't. And so we get to have a history lesson.
Right.
And we talk about the world and how everybody respects a person such as the Pope.
Right.
No matter what your faith
Right.
is, everybody pretty much respects that position. And so it was another opportunity that I'm going, how many times do you say this is a once in a lifetime?
Right.
experience?
And then this has been like a part of your repertoire, as far as your language.
Mm-hmm.
How many times do I get this opportunity? Here it comes again, right?
Yes.
And again and again. And it just happened. And what you're doing is very successful. We know you're a success. You've been nominated for a Grammy for Teacher of the Year.
No, that's actually, this is the choir.
So the choir's been nominated for Grammy. Okay.
Yes, this was the choir. They had an international experience in Prague, Czech Republic.
Right.
And they recorded with the Dvorak Symphony.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
the name of the project, it was produced by Albany Records,
Right.
another national, label,
Right.
Albany Records. And that particular CD, which was entitled Somewhere Far Away,
Mm-hmm.
was nominated in 5 different categories for a Grammy.
For a Grammy.
Mhm.
Did they understand
The students
the
at that
magnitude
time,
of that?
well, see,
Still
it
didn't get it.
didn't happen right away.
Wow.
So it was 4 years later after that CD had been
Right.
produced. So the students, ironically, you asked about that because the majority of those students that were on that particular CD, they showed up last night
Wow.
to support the holiday concert.
Wow.
So they are always the ones with the bragging rights.
Right.
And they are saying, we want to see what these students are doing now because we were the ones that had a Grammy nomination.
At the Grammy, exactly. And with everything you've done, the young men and women that work with you, what do you contribute the success that you had to, including the kids and yourself, the combination? How do you explain that success?
Wow. Not quite sure how I explain it, except for I just enter the classroom every day with a similar focal point,
Right.
and that is to take what I have and have them to understand that they have to be the best that they can be.
Gotcha.
So we don't set goals of winning awards or anything such as that. Our goals are very practical goals,
Right.
which is this is who we are,
Right.
and here is where you need to be,
Right.
and it's a reachable goal, and this is what we want you to do.
Right.
So it takes patience. It takes a sense of humor.
Right.
It takes not taking yourself so seriously.
Right. Good.
It takes giving the students something to reach for,
Right.
and get them to understand that what they're bringing to the table is valuable. Everybody's bringing a different experience.
Right.
And I do take it as a challenge because unlike some other universities, all of my students don't necessarily come with big experience.
Right.
But I tell them that doesn't necessarily determine whether or not you should be able to be successful
Right.
chorally. And so that's why I say we take what they have and then we make it work.
That says a lot about you as a leader, because they have to receive what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And it says a lot about your personality and how you lead, because you have to trust your leader. You have to trust your leader. And that's the only way you're going to follow them. So they receive it, they follow you. And that, I think, is a big deal and says volumes about you and why you got Teacher of the Year here at Winston-Salem State at one point. And all the good things that you were doing. It's your leadership, your personality, your spirit, and it's beautiful. This concert this past Sunday has become a big deal here in Winston-Salem. What do you attribute that to?
I don't know.
People just because they love it, and people
Yeah.
talk about it, they look forward to going to it. I was excited. I had to take some children
Okay.
to a basketball game. I
Okay.
mentor kids,
Yeah.
and I was like, no, I want to go because I was sitting there thinking, basketball game, kids,
Oh.
this concert that I keep hearing about.
Uh-huh.
Why is it so successful and everyone loves it?
Well, let me back up for a minute.
Yeah.
And you were saying you had to take the kids to the basketball game.
Yeah.
So next year,
Okay,
take them to the concert.
I will.
Bring them
There
to
you
the
go.
concert.
I like that. See, that's why people love it. Yeah.
I don't know. I personally asked some community
Right.
friends who come. I said, why do you choose or elect to come to the Winston-Salem State
Right.
University
Right.
choirs concert? And they said, well, it's a number of reasons for them.
Right.
Number one, it's always a family-oriented, centered
Right.
concert. Number two, you always try to emerge some community group within your concert,
Right.
some type of way. And so we go to hear the singing Rams, and we also go to hear and support some of those community
Right.
groups. And number three, you can't get a concert like this and it be free. You know, on most levels.
Right.
And so that's one of those driving forces. And then number four, it's always the same time every year. So it's always that first
Consistency,
Sunday
yeah.
in December. So
Right.
they love to have something such as that to kind of kick off their holiday season.
Is it any way the community can be even more supportive of what you're doing? How can we be more supportive?
Wow. There are many things that the community can do. The university choir or the singing Rams is always looking forward to some adventures,
Right.
and it takes money. It takes
Okay.
money to do that. And most of our students are doing the best they can to afford to be
Right.
at the university. So we don't want those experiences to be a burden for them to have to make a decision.
good.
Do I pay the tuition
Right.
or do it? Because really it's not a decision. If you don't pay
Or
the
do I
tuition,
travel?
if you don't pay the tuition, you can't travel because
Right.
you're not a student. So we don't want them to have to even think like that,
Right.
whether or not they should be able to do that. So, we try to make it where our students are able to have an international experience, like maybe every 2 years
Right.
we'll do that. And we are well overdue. Our last international experience was South Africa, and that was 2014.
Right.
And so we're well overdue an experience for this group of students that have been there. So Giving Tuesday is coming up tomorrow.
Okay.
And the choir and the ensembles, the choral ensembles, have their own giving link. And so if you go on to the university's web page, or if you're in social media, WSSU social media, you will find those links and give directly to the choral
To the kid,
ensemble.
wow.
Yes. And it took our actually first international trip that I took students to, from Winston-Salem State was the Prague trip. And it was this community that sent those students. It was just about every church I had heard of and not heard of.
Right.
It was just about every other, even other local universities gave towards that trip. So it was the community.
And it's not just that they're sending these kids somewhere to sing.
Right.
These are life-changing experience that they're having.
Yes.
The stuff that they're seeing is changing their lives. They're getting to see other countries and say, oh, wow, I can appreciate
Other cultures.
I can appreciate what I have better or understand
Yes.
life more. And I think that is fantastic.
Yes.
With all that you've accomplished, what means the most to you so far? With everything you've accomplished and you look back and say, you know, this here means most to me.
Well, probably someone would think that it's a musical experience.
Okay.
But it's not. It's being able to just impact these young people in a way that otherwise they may not would be impacted.
Right.
There are several students that I'm just proud of all of them, but there are several students that said, I would not be an attorney, the kind of attorney that I am, had I not been in the Winston-Salem State University choir. I have several students that are MDs that said I would not be the kind of doctor I would be had I not had the experience that I had in the choir. And what they are talking about, or what they've said that is attributed to, is the discipline that they had to have in order to be in that group.
Wow.
And so that's something that is musical that we work with and that I try to teach every day.
Right.
It's a discipline. And a discipline takes lots of practice and skill. and I tell them, I said, practice makes what? And sometimes they'll say, practice makes what? And then I say, practice makes permanent.
Make permanent.
Not perfect, it makes
Permanent. Absolutely.
And so they carry those skills with them in all of their majors. The majority of my students that are in my choir are not music majors.
Right.
And so the mere fact that they can major in whatever it is and become whoever they want to become, and they are outstanding in their individual fields, that they can give some kind of contribution of that from the choir.
Absolutely. And I noticed with your spirit and traveling, they also learn humility.
Yeah, I hope.
Yes, humility and integrity, which kind of coincide.
Yes.
With all that you've done so much. What can we look forward in 2019? Look forward to in 2019.
Certainly here again, we were talking about this international travel.
Right.
And so that's on the books to try to make
So
happen.
we need to donate.
Yes.
Yes, go to WSSU website.
Yes.
Donate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's the highlight for 2019.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ms. Simmons-Burke, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to meet you. And I look forward to seeing you more often.
Thank
Keep
you.
up the good work.
It's a pleasure.
Appreciate you.